Well, today the nation continues to grieve the deaths of 26 people, most of them young children, after the massacre at Sandy Hook Elementary School in Newtown, Connecticut. Well, the tragedy has ignited a debate over gun control in the U.S. Even those with staunchly pro-gun views have come forward saying that the time has come to take a serious look at the country's gun laws. Many are saying this latest massacre of young children is a turning point for a call to action. Even Rupert Murdoch, the media mogul whose companies are known for being conservative, tweeted his support for some kind of change. He tweeted on Friday, "Terrible news today. When will politicians find courage to ban automatic weapons?" as in Oz after similar tragedy. And from Sunday, nice words from POTUS on shooting tragedy. But how about some bold leadership action? Well, despite all this, Fox News, one of Murdoch's companies, apparently mandated that their employees refrain from talking about gun control altogether. New York Magazine reports that the executive producer in charge of weekend coverage said, quote, "This network isn't going there," and, quote, "We were expressly forbidden from talking about gun control." With a country embroiled in debate over the role of guns in our culture, how could you ignore it? To discuss, I'm joined now by Christopher Chambers, journalism professor at Georgetown University. Chris, great to have you here.
Thank you.
So first off, I guess, what do you think? Has Fox done a disservice to the public?
Yes, in a nutshell. I mean, this is policy that's come down, from above, not from Michael Clemente, the editorial director, but from Roger Ailes. And, you have to understand there's a couple of themes at work here. Ailes and Rupert Murdoch don't see eye to eye on everything. As a matter of fact, Ailes has probably seen Murdoch drift a little bit. He's facetiously even blamed that on Murdoch's wife, Wendy, who's a young, supposedly progressive person. He's blamed it on Murdoch's son, James, who he views as a bean counter. But it's basically, Ailes calling the shots. And so when you have this sort of situation where from the top down, from Ailes to Clemente to the anchors, everybody from Brett Baier to the actual, where the magic is done, the talk shows and the guest and host-driven content, that is a theme that they hit on again and again and again. And that spreads out because so many of their contributors also write for conservative magazines, websites, et cetera, et cetera. So it's basically spreading out like an octopus, and at the head of the octopus, you have to have a unified message. This is their unified message, and it happens to diverge with what the chief wants.
Now, we heard because of this mandate, apparently, Fox was virtually silent over the weekend. They did mention the issue today. Let's play a clip.
One of the things that we've seen as a side story, if you will, from the murders in Connecticut is this reignited debate over gun control in this country.
With some lawmakers saying the president should take the lead on the issue and at the very least push for reinstating the assault weapons ban.
Senator Dianne Feinstein of California, author of the original assault weapons ban, says she has been working on this bill for more than a year and that it will be, quote, carefully focused to protect the rights of gun owners. The NRA will soon start pushing back, and sources close to the industry tell Fox News they will note, just for starters, that Columbine happened in 1999, smack in the middle of the 10-year period when this country had an assault weapons ban.
Okay, so they're starting to talk about it today, and I was watching yesterday, and on their evening talk show, they had mentioned that now is not an appropriate time in the wake of the tragedy. What do you think about that justification?
Well, those are the talking points coming from the NRA, the politicians that are enmeshed in the NRA and in conservative causes. I mean, that's not speculation on my part. That's politics and media 101 for the last 15 years. They have a message, they have a narrative. That narrative has to percolate through their delivery system, which unfortunately are their very competent, very wonderful anchors and reporters who I would lay against any news outlet, but they are the setup, the delivery system for the pundits, for the host-driven shows, where you have the right-wing mentality come in and is rehashed and then shot back out, in these various media outlets where their pundits feed into. Say somebody like Laura Ingraham. This is nothing different than what they did, ironically, 2 weeks ago to Bob Costas and one of their own employees, Jason Whitlock, when Costas and Whitlock talked about guns with respect to the Kansas City chief who killed his girlfriend and himself. And they unleashed this entire pundit machine that was a lot more hard-edged and a lot nastier. Now you don't see the nastiest and hard edge. What you're seeing is just the message here that, well, we had an assault weapons ban and Columbine happened. Well, you know, somehow they got those guns. You know, this is their message machine at work. They're also the message machine is also mental health. They also say, well, you can't guard against crazy people. Well, I mean, what they don't say is that the people that they support politically, the people they have on their show, have pushed back against Obamacare, which has mandated mental health parity, and they don't cover cuts in mental health services by state and local governments. So what you see is the picture of Lanza or the shooter in the Batman theater. You see his crazy face plastered, boom, 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 but you do not see the children. You do not see any reference to the children, their parents, the deaths of these children. You see crazy person, crazy person, crazy person, crazy person. That is the message. So, you know, this is just the meme and the theme that they have to fire on to fit their business model. It's nothing more complicated than that.
Now, obviously, a lot of America devastated, grieving over this tragedy, this massive tragedy, young children that passed away in this. And we're seeing that these views on stricter gun laws are the highest. If we can pull up there was a poll that was taken, Washington Post poll, if we can pull that up there. It shows that stricter gun laws, the views on stricter gun laws are the highest it's been in 5 years, and views on gun control measures have also increased. This is in the wake of the tragedy. 59% support a ban on high-capacity ammunition clips. 52% support a ban on semi-automatic weapons. We see that most people do not support a ban on handgun sales except to law enforcement. So, Chris, we're not talking about disarming the American population, but we are seeing that Americans are in favor of doing something.
And that's ironically what Murdoch, who I don't usually agree with about a lot of things, whether it's media or politics, I think that's what he was hitting on. Because you have to also understand this disconnect between he and Ailes. Murdoch comes from this milieu of the United Kingdom and Australia, which have some of the toughest gun laws in the world. In the UK, he mentioned the Oz massacre. You know, in Scotland, they outlawed most magazine-fed weapons of any kind because of that. In Australia, it is a flat ban, and this is where Murdoch has cut his teeth in the media. Ailes does not, you know, he doesn't identify with that, and he looks at that as a kind of a different orientation that the boss has, that he has. But all Murdoch is saying is what most people with common sense are saying. Do people need, a .223 caliber Bushmaster to hunt squirrels?
Right.
No, you'd use it to hunt people.
Right. Doesn't make sense. But, Chris, great to have you here as always. That was Christopher Chambers, a journalism professor at Georgetown University.